Hello, my name's Christine, and today I'm going to be reviewing all the books, movies, and TV shows I've watched and read over the past 6 months. We got a lot of shit to cover. It's time for stories I ate over the past 6 months.
Off the hook, but the phone never rang. Beast on the beats, no claws, no fangs.
So I'm gonna work my way from the first thing I watched and haven't talked about all the way down to the most recent. The first show was Love, Victor. This is a spin-off of Love, Simon. Victor just moved to the town where Simon lives. Simon's in college in New York City. Victor and all the characters surrounding him are so wonderful and endearing. Victor's best friend reminds me so much of Jim Carrey. It's like a young teenage Jim Carrey meets Styles from Teen Wolf, which is real fun. I love the whole crew. And I'm so excited for more of that show. Hopefully it comes in the beginning of next year, but who knows if they were able to film. I don't know. Love, Victor gets an A+. EUROVISION Fire Saga? I had very low expectations for this, but my friend Katie and I think Natasha both were like, oh my god, it was so much fun. And John really wanted to watch it, so we did. And it was fun. The songs in it are actually really great and really fun to watch. And while the plotline was a little cheesy and Will Ferrell's character is kind of annoying, I still enjoyed it. The music really carried it for me. It had a little bit of a Pitch Perfect vibe at one point, but like not done as well as Pitch Perfect. There's this one scene where I think everyone in it is a cameo from other Eurovisions. They were doing this big sing-along and I thought it was gonna be a riff-off and I got so excited, and then it wasn't at all. It really made me want to watch Pitch Perfect, which I did, and it was great all over again. It's a fun popcorn, sit on your couch, relax movie. I'm gonna give it a B+. The next series I watched was The Babysitter's Club on Netflix. My friend Julia actually works for the production company that made Babysitter's Club and she was really excited about it. So of course I watched it when it came out and it was so cute! It was like a bowl of ice cream in your pajamas in bed type of TV show. I just blew through most of it in one night. I've never read the Babysitter's Club books, so I didn't know what to expect. The artist one with the grandma and the fashion, she is my favorite. I love her so much. Claudia! If you haven't watched it yet because you think it looks a little young, it's young in a way that's really accessible to anyone and enjoyable to anyone. Like, you just start remembering all these things from middle school, but not in a harsh way. Like, not in a Pen 1-5 way, in like a cute way. I'll get to Pen 1-5. I watched that as well. Babysitter's Club is adorable and wonderful. I'm gonna give it an A-. The next book I read was Who Should See Me in a Crown by Leah Johnson. This was so fun. It was our June book explosion book of the month, I think. Every month has felt like the same month extended. Our lead girl's name is Liz. She's running for homecoming queen because whoever wins gets a $10,000 scholarship. She needs that scholarship to go to her dream school. She starts to like another girl who's running for homecoming queen against her, and a romance threads from there. It's a rom-com. Got family stuff happening in it too. There's a whole Book Explosion live show where we talked about all of our feels. So you can check that out on the Book Explosion channel on YouTube. We do live shows every month. Feel free to join us. Our current book of the month is The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chakshi. I'm going to link to all Book Explosion socials in the description, so if you'd like to join our monthly book club, you have the info and tools to do so. The next thing I watched was the HILARY documentary on Hulu, which was excellent. I shed a lot of tears. I'm going to give that an A. I watched Becoming on Netflix, which was also excellent. Becoming was more upbeat overall, which was nice. Becoming gets an A as well. The next book I read was our July Book Explosion book of the month, and that is The Opposite of Always by Justin A. Reynolds. It's a love story, and this kid that's going to college in the fall meets a girl while he's there for orientation. They hit it off, they start dating, and then something happens that ruins everything. Somehow this kid wakes up again at orientation and gets to try it again. He keeps trying to change the outcome in different ways. We see how things shift with every different decision that he makes and how that affects his relationship with the people around him. It's a fascinating study in time travel almost, and just the idea of a butterfly effect, how one decision can change your life, and I love that about it. It's thought-provoking in my favorite philosophical way. The next show that I watched this year was Avatar: The Last Airbender, which I had never seen before. It was great. The first season is not as overarching of a plot. You have to stick with it a little bit. Then you get to know and love the characters. Like, I love them all. And I did not want to watch KORRA because it didn't have Aang, it didn't have SAGA, it didn't have Katara, it didn't have Toph. and there was no Zuko, and like without them, why do I keep going? It reminded me of Doctor Who in a way. Like, you made more, but you didn't include them. How could you expect me to want to watch that? Toward the end of season 1, it gets excellent, and then season 2 is amazing, and season 3 is amazing, and there's only 3 seasons. I wish there was more. I kind of wanted a little more from the end. Like, I just wanted to see what happened to them afterward. And then I go to KORRA, and it's like years and years and years afterward when no one's even around anymore. Like, how dare you? How dare you not let me see them grow up? I wish there was an in-between. I love Appa. I almost named my dog Appa, but he doesn't look like Appa at all, so I thought that would be kind of weird. That episode about Appa hurt my heart. I think I cried more in that episode than like in any other episode. Last Avatar season 1, A-, season 2, A+, season 3, A+. Zuko's arc, A+. Really enjoyed that. I watched the first season of KORRA and I was so unimpressed. Apparently season 2 was not good at all, and I already did not like season 1. It was like they tried to condense so much story into like one episode every time. Like, this love triangle, I'm not buying it at all. I like that there was gonna be a love triangle, but then like 50 things happened within the span of 20 minutes. There was no character development there. I'm not on board, okay? Why did you do it like that? Why? All of it was kind of lacking the heart and the emotional attachment that I had while I was watching Avatar. A whole season went by and she still didn't know how to airbend, and the whole point was to learn to airbend. Anyway, I'm gonna give KORRA like a C-. I know some people like KORRA. Maybe I need to watch other seasons, but maybe not. The next show I watched was Indian Matchmaking, which is a documentary on Netflix about this super famous Indian matchmaker. I had such a fun time watching this while I cooked and such in the background. I feel like I learned so much about arranged marriages and why people do it, how it works, and it was all really cool. But then the series just ends before anyone is actually matched up, I feel like. Right? Everyone was like getting and finding a person, but then we never followed through, and there was this one woman who we never got to see if she actually liked the person she was matched with. I feel like everything was open-ended. I was like, was that like season 1? But how can you end season 1 without following through with any of the couples that we see if anything worked out? What happened? I'm gonna give it a B. It has that feeling where you can just kind of turn off your brain and watch it. You need that sometimes, especially in 2020. The next book that I read was A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor by Hank Green. I'm just so pleased with how this all panned out. If I could, I would include this in my books for Ravenclaws. Maybe, did I include the first one in that? If you like riddles and puzzles and putting stuff together, you're gonna enjoy this. The next show that I watched was season 2 of Umbrella Academy, which was so good. I was so excited for this to come out. I savored every episode. Season 2, I think, was better than season 1. There was a lot more sibling togetherness. Season 1 had more of a somber feeling to it. Season 2 had more of a like positive, we're gonna come together and defeat this, be a team sort of vibe. I just love these siblings and I'm excited to watch more Umbrella Academy. I know it's based off of a comic book, so I don't know how many seasons they have, but like, I'm up for whatever. Bellamy has a new toy and I made the mistake of putting it in his crate. If you hear squeaking, that's what that is. The next movie I watched was First Cow. It was good. It was just really, what a downer. If you're like a film person, you'd probably enjoy it, or if you like quiet, slow movies, you'd probably enjoy it. It's about a guy traveling across America during the gold rush era. It's just kind of his journey, and he makes a friend, and they try to start a little business. That's really it. There's a cow involved. Cows were brought over from Europe. Like, we didn't have them here. Apparently, that's what I got from the film. A cow was a rare commodity, and having milk to make stuff with was a rare commodity, you know, out west. It was like the first cow in the area. That's why it's called First Cow. I'm gonna give it a B. I watched the comedy special Nanette, which was superb. The comedian is Hannah Gatsby. She is excellent. Nanette, it's so much more than a comedy special. It really hits you in a lot of emotional ways. I highly recommend it. It's on Netflix. Like, that one gets an A+. Then her second special was called Douglas. Also great. That one gets an A. Both specials were roller coasters of laughter and emotion and emotion and emotion. And also, I feel like I learned things about art. I watched Palm Springs, which is an original movie that's on Hulu, starring Andy Samberg and Tyler Hoechlin's in it. I feel like I might have read one too many books with like a similar-ish plot, but it's still super fun. It's got quirky comedy going on. I highly enjoyed myself watching it. I'm gonna give it an A-. The next movie I watched was Work It with Sabrina Carpenter, Liza Koshy, and Jordan Fisher. It's a dance movie. It's so much fun. Had nice comedic beats. Liza Koshy and Sabrina and Jordan played off of each other really nice. I'm gonna give it an A-. Highly recommend it for like a fun night on the bed with popcorn in your pajamas or like standing up dancing. By the end of it, I was like, yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know what I'm singing. The next book that I read was Red, White, and Royal Blue. I don't think I've talked about this in a Stories I Ate this month yet, but I have talked about it in multiple videos of how good it was and how much I loved it, and I just talked about it in the video that I filmed yesterday. So I'm not gonna go into detail except to say that it was excellent. Most people have already read it. It gave me all the feels. I love that the leads are 23 and 19, or 23 and 21. They're new adult age. And this is an adult novel. Like there's a lot of sex scenes in it. It feels like that older YA that I've been craving so much, just like a step into your 20s. It's a romance between a prince of England and the first son of the president of the United States. It's grand. The next movie I watched was the new Mulan adaptation on Disney Plus for $30. A subscription service charging us for a movie on top of the subscription service felt ridiculous, and I think they're gonna do that some more. Before watching it, like I was so excited for Mulan. It's my favorite Disney movie. I think it has the best songs in it and the best plot line, and it's so empowering. Mulan the adaptation, this pains me to say, but it was really bad. It was very upsetting how bad it was. Mulan had like 2 lines by the time we were 45 minutes into the film. I felt like I knew no one. There was no heart. It was just like a bunch of stuff happening with wild camera angles. Nothing was cohesive. It was the most upsetting movie watching experience. A lot of stuff felt forced. A lot of stuff felt out of the blue. Stuff that tried to be funny wasn't funny. There was no character development for anyone. Halfway through, I didn't want to watch it anymore because it was making me really sad because Mulan's my favorite Disney movie, but we were like, we paid $30. We have to finish it. Ugh. I'm gonna give it a D. I don't know how Disney let this happen. Why didn't we do it like it is in regular Mulan? Like every other Disney movie copied this cartoon exactly, like word for word, frame for frame sometimes. And I'm like, I'm tired of this. Make it something new, make it different. But with Mulan, I wouldn't mind it being exactly the same because I love Mulan the way it is. Like they tried to do it different for the first time and it went so poorly. It went so poorly. And if you watch it, you'll see that it's just, I don't understand how it had 70-something% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like I was just like, this doesn't feel real. Love to hear your thoughts. Those are mine. Ugh. Oh my god, the music was so terrible. They could have used Mulan music, but they used weird iMovie score for a lot of it, and I'm just, even though it was already not good, it was ruined it more. The next show I watched was season 3 of Killing Eve. I love this show so much, and season 3 was phenomenal as well. They're all phenomenal. You should watch Killing Eve, it's so good, and it's on Hulu now. Season 3 just came out on Hulu. I paid earlier to watch it on Amazon because I could not wait, and oh my gosh, I just love everyone on that show so much. Villanelle and Eve, their chemistry, Villanelle's style, the way she talks, everything she does, and then like the way Eve reacts, and I just love them so much. You have to watch it. Season 3 gets an A, season 2 gets an A+, and season 1 gets an A+. The next movie I watched was ENOLA Holmes on Netflix, starring Millie Bobby Brown. It also has Superman in it and Sam Claflin. Excellent. The trailer was amazing. I almost wish I hadn't watched it, but the trailer was so good. It felt like a movie experience in itself. The movie would have been even better had I not watched the trailer and didn't know what to expect in terms of style, but I love the style this film is shot and told in. It breaks the fourth wall a lot. It feels like a book come to life in the best way. Loved it. I can't wait for more. They clearly are setting up for some sort of trilogy. That's what it feels like to me. Just to have a female Sherlock Holmes movie come out great was a relief in itself. They've done a lot of adaptations of movies that are predominantly male and made them female, and sometimes that rendition of it is not as good. I'm thinking of like Ocean's 8 that came out last year. There's tons of examples, Ghostbusters, but ENOLA Holmes, the female Sherlock Holmes movie, kicked ass. I hated Sam Claflin's character. Like, I've never hated Sam Claflin's character so hard before. I just wanted to step on his face. I watched Love and Monsters starring Dylan O'Brien. If you haven't heard of it, it's this story about a post-apocalyptic world. A meteor was gonna hit Earth and then we blew it up, but the radiation fallout affected the bug creatures on Earth and made them ginormous. They are basically murdering all of us. So there's like different pods of people that live in underground bunkers. Dylan O'Brien gets separated from his girlfriend, and when he finds her again, she's like 90 miles away, and he decides he's going to hike to her so he can live in her pod and see her, because everyone in his pod is kind of paired off and he's very lonely. It's this really heartwarming journey where Dylan O'Brien was finding himself through this hike across these 90 miles of giant bug-ridden Earth, and it's really good. It's really fun. There's a dog in it, and I love Dylan and the dog's relationship. I'm gonna give it an A-. It was nice to see Dylan O'Brien in something, honestly. It's been a while. The next show I watched was season 1 and 2 of Pen 1-5. The show is so uncomfortable sometimes, but it's so real, and it's so funny, and so well made and put together. The scripts are so good. This is about 2 girls in middle school, and they're in middle school like 2 years older than when I was in middle school. But a lot of the stuff they're saying, like, I relate to so hard, and all these little details of like what they're wearing and like the stuff they're using at school and the stuff they're doing at school and like what the girls look like. There's so many little things you forget about being in middle school that are cringy or that are wonderful, like, that come back when you start watching Pen 1-5. These 2 best friends relationship, it brings back all these great memories about just my best friend and how hard we were there for each other so much in middle school. And when you don't have that friend, like, I don't know how you get through middle school. There's like some really weird episodes, and like I don't relate to everything, but in every episode there's something that sparks something in you that you're like, oh my god, I remember that, and oh my god, there's this thong episode. So good and so weird, but like thongs were such a big deal in middle school. And I didn't even talk about, so the lead actresses, they're playing, I think, like versions of themselves because their names are the same names as the actresses, and I think they created the show, which is so cool. They're like 30 and they're playing middle schoolers, which is so fun, and everyone else is like age appropriate, but like they're dressed as middle schoolers, they're acting like middle schoolers, they do a phenomenal job. I'm so glad that I stumbled across it on Hulu. It was the only show that Bellamy would sit and watch with me. Like, he would stare at the screen with me, and I was amazed. Something about it entranced him. So it became our show. We would watch Pen 1-5 together. Pen 15, whatever you want to call it. It's penis. So I'm gonna give season 1 an A, and season 2 also an A. I think the cringiest episode is probably the masturbation one. And that episode was so cringy, but also had moments where it was so funny. It was also like the first episode where Bellamy came and just like sat with me and watched it. I was like, this is weird. Weird. But I'm glad we've landed on something that you will watch with me. The next film I watched was Borat's subsequent movie film. Borat had such a big effect on pop culture when it dropped. I was in high school and literally everyone was making Borat jokes every second of my life forever. Of course, I saw the Borat film, the first one, and you know, at first I was like, wow, this is really funny. And then by the end of the movie, I was like, this is too much. This isn't funny. I want this to be over. I think the second one was a much better film. It just feels like more of a whole. It had more of an overarching plot and a purpose. The woman who plays Borat's daughter is phenomenal, like super impressed with her. I didn't have that many laugh out loud funny moments. I had a lot of moments where I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe this is real. I can't believe people are saying these things. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe this is happening. Like, I can't believe these people are seeing this and this is happening. But there were a couple heartwarming moments, which is just like unheard of in a Borat film in my head. And so I'm gonna give it a B. I think it accomplished its goals as a movie. It brings you out of maybe the bubble that you're in, thinking that people would never do these things or say these things. It's just cringy a lot, not because of the acting, but because of like humanity. The next show I have been watching is What We Do in the Shadows. I watched season 1 and we are 1 episode away from finishing season 2. This show is fantastic. So it's Taika Waititi and Janine Clementine. They made What We Do in the Shadows, the movie, and they've made this TV show. It's a mockumentary style comedy about these vampires living in this house together, like these 3 vampire roommates. It's so good. It's so funny. Why hasn't someone thought of doing this before? I don't know, but I'm so glad that Taika and Janine are doing it now. I love Guillermo so much, and I love Nadja. Laszlo's fine, and Nandor. It's fine. Everyone's fine. Like, you need all of them for this to work. I'm gonna give season 1 an A and season 2 an A+. Colin. You can't forget Colin. What a brilliant twist on What the Usual Vampire is like. Every time Colin's doing something, it's hilarious. We just watched an episode with like all the computers and he was like responding to people on Twitter. I've also watched The Boys season 1 and we are currently 2 episodes into season 2. You know, I didn't watch it for a long time because I saw a hot take on Twitter that was not good. And then John was telling me that he really wanted to watch it and he was describing the show to me and I was like, wow, that sounds fascinating. The lead guy, who of course his name is escaping me right now, he's playing such a Jack Sparrow-esque person. And I can't help but love that so much. His mannerisms and the way he talks, and I've never heard another person talk like Jack Sparrow in that way. The concept is really poignant right now. There are soups, like people with super abilities. This company hires them and distributes them amongst each city, and the city pays to have a soup protect their city. And these superheroes are basically, they're untouchable by the law. They can get away with all sorts of terrible shit, and a lot of them are big jackasses who abuse their power. The series basically is about this guy who is wronged big time by one of these soups, his quest joining in with other people who've been wronged by the soups to bring them down and take away this abusive power. But it's really hard to do that when a giant corporation is backing them and these people in general have so much power. I'm going to give season 1 of this an A, and season 2, I don't know, we'll see when we get around to finishing it. It's excellent so far. The next book I read was Heartbones by Colleen Hoover. I devoured the shit out of this. On my Colleen Hoover scale, it's probably around the middle. It's a tough contest to get to the top. I really enjoyed the arc of our lead. It's hard to talk about Colleen's books because they're best gone into with a clean slate. I don't want to ruin any of that for you. Definitely check on trigger warnings before you head into it if that's something that you're worried about. This one, like, it starts with a tragic event, but the lead is building herself back up, like putting herself back together throughout the rest of the book. The next show I watched was the Lily and Dash miniseries on Netflix, which was so cute. This is based off of a book that I've never read before, but have heard everything about for the past, like 10 years. It's by David Levithan and Rachel Cohen, say. It was adorable and just so calming in a way. I'm gonna give it a B+. It wasn't like something that blew my mind, but it was like really comforting and nice and sweet. And I really enjoyed that. The next book I read was The Cemetery Boys by Aiden Thomas. I did the audiobook for this. It was fantastic. The Cemetery Boys, I want to say, would be considered an urban fantasy. It feels very grounded in our world, but does have fantastical elements. The lead character is a boy named Gabriel. He's trans, and he comes from a family of brujas and brujos who can see spirits. They're blessed by the goddess of death, and their jobs are to help spirits who linger in our realm to move on to the next realm. Like, they release them. The women have the ability to heal, and the brujos are the ones that sever the spirits from our world and let them move on to the next. And if they don't do it in a timely manner, eventually the spirit in our world will become maligno and cause violence and destruction around them. And Gabriel is a brujo, but his family has not accepted him as such. They have not let him do the brujo ceremony, which endows him with these abilities. So he does it in secret at the beginning of this novel, and it works, and he has brujo abilities now, and he's trying to use those abilities to prove to his family that he is a real brujo. He encounters this spirit at the start of the novel. It's a boy from his school. They start to fall for each other. That's my favorite aspect of the book. I love the romance. I mean, don't get me wrong, the fantastical elements are so well done, and the world building is really well done. We talked about this in our Books Explosion live show because this is our October book of the month. I'd love to see more in this world. I'd love to see more of this couple. I love Julian and Gabrielle together, and it's a slow burn, so like by the end of it, we finally get to the point where like, yes, it's happening. I want more of the couple together at the end of stories. It kept reminding me of Coco in little different ways because it takes place right before the Day of the Dead, and I really got to know the Day of the Dead through Coco for the first time. It was great. Definitely recommend it. And the latest show that I've been watching is A Teacher, and I've been watching it as it comes out on Hulu. I think it is a Hulu show. That's why it's coming out week to week. It's uncomfortable. So if you don't want to watch something that's kind of uncomfortable, creepy, don't watch it. But it's starring the kid from Love, Simon, the girl from House of Cards, which I never watched, but I just recognize her from like the one episode of House of Cards I tried to watch and never continued. Both great actors. So if you want to binge it, maybe hold off. The 4th episode just dropped. I think there's going to be 8 or 10 episodes. It's a teacher and a student relationship, and the student in high school. Like, I was intrigued, like, how did this happen? And just seeing it unfold, it's like both uncomfortable and fascinating at the same time. It's gotten really uncomfortable in the last 2 episodes. I'm just like, ooh. Uncomfortable in a way that intrigues me, of course, and I want to see how it pans out. Gotta see what happens. Right now, I'd give it maybe a B+. Like, there's not many things going on except for this one horrible thing that's starting to happen between the teacher and the student. I'm not blown away yet. The next book I read is one that I just finished, and that is The Power by Naomi Alderman. I've been wanting to read this since it came out. There were so many great rave reviews. I was so excited about the premise, which is in a world where women have evolved to have this power to electrocute people, basically. It's a deep dive into the idea of what would happen if women naturally held more power than men. What if our society was kind of flipped on its head? The read was kind of horrifying. Like, at first, you're like, whoa, this is so cool, and yeah, stand up for women and get these horrible people. Then, as we roll on, things start to get scary and, like, mirror, in some ways, things we've been seeing in 2020, and then they just get worse, and then things just flip around. It wasn't the most uplifting read. It was like you're spiraling down into this place where you feel a little hopeless about society. I can't go into much more detail without spoiling the ride. It's told from multiple points of view. You're not really rooting for one person over another until the end, and then you're rooting for like these 2 people, but things are spiraling so out of control. It's sad in like a societal way, and it's sad for these characters, and it pulls you out to see from a new perspective about things that we think and assume we know about society today. It wasn't my favorite. It's well written. I would have liked it more if it was more of a character-centric story. It was more about like what's happening to society, the cataclysm, which is the era in which this happened. The way it's framed is interesting. A historian, 5,000 years after this power appeared in women, telling the story of that time when it happened. You see the current time, the women discovering this power in them. And we see from these 4 different women and 1 man, we dip into their lives and we learn enough to care, but not enough to the point where I felt super invested in these people and wanted to keep reading for them. Like, I was reading to see what happened to society. I just enjoy reading more when I'm in it with a person. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like to be attached to a character. Like, I eventually attached to Tunde, but for a while I was like, Tunde. Roxy, I feel like she was a good person, but she was in with a bad crowd, and those were probably my 2 favorites. Can I say I loved it? No. I could say I was horrified by it, and maybe that's what she was going for. She's making a point with this book, and point made. And the last book that I have read was Layla by Colleen Hoover. This is her first venture into a paranormal story, and when I heard paranormal, I was thinking like, I don't know, Twilight. It feels like a horror movie in the first like 100 pages, and then it gets way less scary, and then it becomes weird and kind of creepy in a way that I like to read, like a weird creepy thriller. I really enjoyed myself reading it. I was very scared the first 100 pages. On my scale of Colleen Hoover books, I mean, it's not my favorite from Colleen. I enjoyed it. I blew through it really quickly. I always do with her writing. I find it intensely captivating and I just can't stop reading. But I didn't feel as satisfied and fulfilled at the end of it that I usually do with a Colleen book. And I can't tell you why, because spoilers. All of her books, I just eat them up. They're great. If you forgot that you liked reading, pick up a Colleen Hoover book. This is actually an arc. Layla comes out December 8th. So you can pre-order it now or grab this baby in December. And those, ladies and gentlemen, were all the stories I ate over the last 6 months, I think. It's a long time. I hope I didn't miss anything. If you haven't heard, my book, my second novel, Better Together, is available for pre-order now. I'm so excited. It comes out 6/1/2021. It's like The Parent Trap meets Something Else meets My Brain. I'm trying not to spoil what that something else is, but it's like in the description if you want to be spoiled what that something else is. It's not just a sister story, like both sisters have romance lines happening through the story, but there's also family drama. It's like a rom-com with a dash of magic, and the girls are 18 and 20, but they're actually like 19 and 21. They're like both turning to the next year. I'm really excited about it. If you're interested, I'd really appreciate your pre-order. I'd love to hear what your favorite thing that you've devoured over the last 6 months has been. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Christine, XTeenMay on Twitter, XTeenMay on Instagram. I will see you next time. Goodbye!